Okay, everyone, nationalism, the good, the bad, and of course, as always with me, the ugly. So, nationalism is essentially a strong identity one has to her, his religion, country, history, etc. Let's face it, nationalism can be good, right? I'm proud, right? I'm proud to be Greek. I'm proud to be Turkish. I'm proud to be Russian. I'm proud to be Canadian. You don't hear many people saying they're proud to be Canadian. But regardless, you're proud, right? It's okay. And it can create good economics. Like, oh, I'm going to buy local because I'm proud of my area. The problem with nationalism, it begins to get a little nasty. It begins to other, as we talked about in earlier lectures, you other people. You begin to magnify problems with their culture and superiorities with mine. That is the problem with nationalism. Does nationalism in and of itself create collective violence? That's where Tilly would say you need the relational approach. You need certain actors, right? Say political entrepreneurs to stir up the fire, the flame, etc. In order to do it, you need certain boundary activations, political violence specialists, among other things. The two things we have here that's very interesting is a rational actor model by Michael Hector is one of the just biggest adherents to this. This is very important to understand because he actually teaches at ASU. He's a pretty famous guy. And then you have the SUNY article, which is a little different where it's emotion, right? Both I think are valuable. A rational actor model is basically the idea that people do things for rational reasons. There's a lot of value to it, right? Because instead of just saying people are crazy, we try to understand their motives, right? People, one example I give is the hostage taking in 1979 by Iran. People like, oh, they're just a bunch of crazies. They just took these, hostages for no reason because they're insane. No, actually, it was a very rational move. Rational actor model might look at it, say, like a weapon of the week. That might be on a quiz. And what they did was they said, you've been invading us for a long, long time, right? We overthrew Mossadegh in 1953. We've always been interfering in the politics of Iran. We reinstalled the Shah, which was a brutal dictator, killed a lot of people. Had I want to say Sibak, the brutal, although other people might know better than me because I don't speak Farsi. But you essentially had a lot of interference in the politics of Iran. So Iran's a small, weak country. So in 1979, when they were finally able to overthrow the Shah, they said the United States, the UK, and other powers are going to come in and kill us and reinstall the Shah like they did before. And they've propped up the Shah, etc. So they said, we're weak. We're going to take these hostages. And if you come in and you try to attack us, we're going to kill them. So instead of saying, oh, they're just a bunch of crazies, a rational actor model would say, why did they do that? What's the reason for them to do that? And it was a very smart move because it's the weapons of the weak. The weak say to themselves, this is the only weapon we have is this hostage taking. So it was a rational actor. As you read the article on the former Yugoslavia, when they attacked the Croat graves, it was to create a reaction that they knew that then would perpetuate legitimized violence. So please read that article. It's very, very interesting. It represents a rational actor. The weakness for me for the rational actor is a number fold. Like one, you could just say everything is rational, right? Every move, everything, it becomes tautological to the extent to which, everything is explained. So you really explain nothing. So you just say, well, that's rational, It's all this guy cheated on his wife, but ended up getting divorced. Well, it was rational because he cheated on his wife because he wanted to, blah, blah, blah. You can say anything's rational, right? The other problem with it is that, in my opinion, you never know people's motives. So, like in the case of destroying the graves, that could be true, or it could have been a bunch of drunks that were just out for the night. And then we interpret that and project the rational actor on it. So there's strengths and weaknesses to all theories and understandings. The same with Sunni. Sunni is more about emotion, right? We get stirred up by things. It's not necessarily always rational, like in the case of Colombia, changing from Yugoslavia, Iran. In the case of Colombia, we start seeing, the former president Uribe hated the FARC, wanted, never supported the peace process that was to stop the war in Colombia. But that's because the FARC killed his father. So it's like a more emotional response that we have. So, like, emotion matters, although this isn't political, like road rage, right? People killing their spouses and just, just a broad spectrum of different acts of violence are emotional. And the mob mentality might be emotional. The whole January 6th, great day because it's my birthday, don't forget. January 6th insurrection, quote unquote. Was it, a bunch of people prepared to do it, or was it the mob mentality and they just got swept up? I don't know. That depends on how you people will interpret it. I've heard many debates on this by students, and they've all come at it from different angles. So the point here is you've got two things, and you're going to watch a video, a short video of a revolutionary song that's very interesting. It reflects emotion. And that's what it basically is dealing with, emotion. And then we're going to see things from a rational actor perspective. And what I like about Hector is it focuses on the former Yugoslavia, because we are actually going to see a short documentary on that, on how, just so we understand the material, the former Yugoslavia fell after the fall of Tito. Tito died in 1980s, right? He was the high capacity dictator, very popular, that kept the country together. You couldn't go around talking about nationalism, religion, etc. You'd be in prison. He had a strong, high capacity government. When he died and the country started getting fissured, it was a very low capacity government. So this is very important to understand. Went from being a high capacity government, and we supported Tito because he was against, even though he was socialist, he was against Stalin. So we kind of like brought him into our sphere. But it's interesting what we're going to see are the political entrepreneurs, Milosevic discourse, and how that boundary activation after Tito died, there was no more communism, how it created this boundary activation, and people started saying, oh, I'm no longer Yugoslavian, but now I'm Serbian, now I'm Croatian, now I'm Bosnians, I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, I'm Muslim. And this led, at the end of the Cold War, the Cold War was over when this happened, when it just disintegrated, and people started getting into their camps. And it's all part of everything from rational actor, boundary activation, political entrepreneurs. Milosevic is a big one, and others who use the crises to their own political advantage. Genocide. I mean, just the horrors of the breakup of the former Yugoslavia, which happened in the 1990s. Now, I know a lot of you weren't born, but it was still more recent to see genocide in Europe, when they said never again after the Holocaust. It's interesting too, because Serbians will say, oh, the other people started it, but then Bosnia Herzegovinans will blame it on the Serbs. I don't want to get bogged down on that, but there is evidence that there was the Serbs and Croats did do a lot of killing. And, we have to acknowledge that, and that there was genocide to a certain degree carried out, and the United States bombed it with NATO. That's another thing. Should we or should we not use NATO that'd be a good debate, to get into wars beyond the the sphere of influence of Europe, and we used NATO to bomb Serbia, which is an ally of Russia, and that was not popular in Russia. Did that contribute to the rise of Putin? That's an interesting concept. But regardless, this is very, very important. So in this lecture, we focused on a number of things. Number one, nationalism. Nationalism can be good. It's good to be proud, but then there begins to be a pathological view of your identity, religion, sense of ethnicity, etc., and then you begin to belittle others. And does that create, in and of itself, collective violence? It can, with opportunity, hoarding, etc. Second, how do we analyze this collective violence? Not just nationalism, but elsewhere. We have the rational actor model that's saying that people do things for rational reasons, right? So, like, for example, people participate in certain acts of terror, right? Not because they're necessarily bad people, but they have no job, so then they get paid by a government, etc. So, rational actor. And then Sunni is focusing more on emotion, right? It's our emotion. Maybe it's something biological to us. We get whipped up in the masses, demagoguery, speech, Hitler, and all that stuff is very, very important. And then we're going to see a very short emotional video during the revolution in Nicaragua, but that stirs people up. In my argument, you need all of these things. One, you need to have a rational reason to go out and try to overthrow someone. Maybe they killed your mother or father, or maybe they've stepped on your economic interests, so that's a rational reason why you want to overthrow the dictator or the leader. But also there's an emotional component as well. So that's very, very important. The person behind me is a silhouette of Sandino, who is one of my heroes. He fought against the United States because he was tired. He was a nationalist, and he was tired of the United States invading Nicaragua. So in the early 1900s, he started fighting against the United States and actually fought them to a stalemate, and the United States left, and that's why they imposed the Somoza regime. For me, he's a hero. Because he fought and he was a nationalist, he wasn't communist, etc., or anything like that. He was a nationalist in Nicaragua, and it's interesting. Moreover, this is where you get into the interpretive idea of what is a hero, villain, political terror, etc. He was branded by the United States as a bandit, and then he became a hero when the Sandinistas took over in 1979. But very interesting person, and we're also going to apply a lot of this theory to the documentary on the former Yugoslavia, and then we're going to apply everything to the movie before the midterm. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I hope you're enjoying the class.